before we start talking about this, we do want to bring into the conversation, ladies and gentlemen, the press release from the official PlayStation account. And it says this: Helldivers fans, we've heard your feedback on the Helldivers 2 account linking update. The May 6th update, which would have required Steam and PlayStation Network account linking for new players and for current players beginning May 30th, will not be moving forward. We are still learning what is best for our PC players, and your feedback has been invaluable. Oh, I'm sure it has. Thanks again for your continued support of Helldivers 2, and we'll keep you updated on future plans. This, ladies and gentlemen, does not give me confidence. I think that they had to do this because I think Hargeet is onto something here. Money is at the crux of this conversation. There is no doubt they have lost millions of dollars. They have also lost potentially well over 1 million or more players because the return on this game was fast and it was furious. People were turning it, and I think Hargeet actually confirmed it, that people that weren't affected were still returning the game. I actually saw many people on the socials taking pictures of their 100+ hour games with a return receipt from Steam. So people that played 100 hours were like, yeah, I'm just not cool with this. And look, this is the topic we're going to get into. Obviously, I had wrote a whole different show, but this is an important topic because obviously something like this happened 2 years ago with Xbox Live Gold, and it took Microsoft 8 hours to reverse it. I don't understand how it took 72+ hours to reverse this, as Sony is showing their stubbornness. And I got to tell you, don't take this as a victory lap. This is not over. It may be over for Helldivers, but it's not going to be over for the rest of PlayStation games that will be released, because they will be requiring you, starting with Ghost of Tsushima, if you want to play multiplayer, you're going to have a PSN account. Now, with this under the bridge, I don't know if people are going to accept that. I don't think people are going to be like, yeah, you know what, everything is hunky-dory, let's just keep it moving. Gamzee, let's get your hot take on this, man. I think the damage is done. I don't know how long, because, some gamers have a short memory, but PC gamers, well, they're like elephants. They remember, and they keep it in the brain pan for quite some time.
Yeah, I mean, just off the top, thank God. You know what? I have like 85 hours in this game. I hated like 70% of that, so I'm gonna return it. Thank God. I win, baby. No, I'm kidding. This, it's weird. First off, I'm gonna start with the Steam accepting refunds was like the first thing that like started this thing. So just to put it straight, like Hargeet says, the money does talk. Your wallets count. Being attacking devs and stuff doesn't. Being a dick on Twitter doesn't do that stuff. Being respectful, going on the platform, speaking your thought in droves. If you do it intellectually and smart, and also speak with your wallet, get those refunds going. That's what's speaking. So all you people attacking the devs, don't be a piece of shit. You didn't do nothing. Gonna start with that because I don't like toxic people. So I'm not giving you any, freedom there. Second thing, I think what Sony should have done here was really, like, with something so beloved, it should have been from the start. The messaging should have been from the start instead of stepping on the rake first. Like, if they would have just came out here, had the option to link an account at first if you wanted like trophy support and all that stuff, kind of disguise it behind that lens, and having an optional thing on the back end to really work with the overlay and stuff, I think people would have been more accepting in first and not buy the game at all. So that's something they could have done to really avoid this mess of a thing. Like, you can't just, give people option to buy something, say nothing of your plans, they buy it, they spend 6 million hours on it, and then threaten to take away all that progress and all that hard work in countries that can't do that thing. It should always be an optional thing, in my opinion. I don't know how you do that, but Clearly, they want the data. Clearly, they want the option of like controlling the narrative and controlling that game as much as they can because they know that it's valuable. But they just went about it in a dumb, stupid way, in my opinion. Sorry for my language. Yeah, this is a weird thing. I don't have a horse in the race. Again, I'm gonna leave it to you guys to talk most. I congratulate, probably Steam being the pusher on this, and I congratulate the players to speak with their voice and again with their money. Congratulations, Steam players, and congratulations, PC players. You've won this battle, but like Boom said on the top, keep pushing. More games are coming. Ghost of Tsushima's next, and whatever the hell, whatever else is coming out there. Probably God of War Ragnarok is going to tell you to sign in for trophy stuff, so keep an eye on that and keep working, guys. Keep working because it worked. That's all I got to say for now, and then I'll push back or come in after as I hear people talk.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris Brown, let's bring you in on the conversation. Obviously, the people spoke with their wallet, but I think Gamsley's onto something here. I think the refunding from Steam is what pushed Sony over the ledge. I don't think they would have done this if Steam would not have offered, refunds to anyone that bought the game. And you think about it, they're taking a loss too. People bought the game through Steam. And yes, Steam gets a chunk of it. Sony gets a bigger chunk of it because they own the IP. They don't own the studio. But again, this is why it took 72 plus hours is beyond me. I think the damage is done, but we're going to cover that on whether or not this permanently does damage.
I'm sorry, Boom.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, Boom. And all of the people, by the way, those toxic people, those same toxic people I'm talking about, you know who you are on Twitter, that defended it. Even now, as we speak, they go back on their plans, and you guys are flip-flopping backwards.
Yeah.
I know who you are. Don't run away from that. You guys are a piece of work. I would evaluate your whole idea. But yeah, continue.
No, absolutely.
Sorry, Boom. I just wanted to call those guys out because that's some
call
bullshit.
Out who you got to call out. That's what the show is for. Crispy, let's get your hot take on this.
I mean, let's be honest here. The gaming genre itself has its own subsidized influence, and one of those things is what are you doing for me lately? At least in my eyes. And for those countries that got thrown to the curb real quick, and then all of a sudden have been brought back, but not necessarily brought back because they still have canceled being able to buy the game. Yes. To my knowledge, as of now. So my problem is that you have to have gamers speak up because you did something that you shouldn't have done. You went back on what you did when you released the game. You allowed people to purchase the said game in countries that do not support PlayStation Network. Okay? And then you go and say, well, we're going to figure it out. Because I've watched all of this unfold in my eyes. You're welcome to go on my Twitter at Crispy Bomb and look at it. I have retweeted or said something about said things. And it's ridiculous. It's unnecessary. Okay? And the one thing I'll say is everybody says, oh, they're taking the L first. No, they're not. Xbox did this a long time ago. And we always say, Sony, you're supposed to know because Xbox already did this. All right? I mean, I'm the type person like when June hits and we get Gears 6 and then it comes out, you ain't going to have this problem. If you want to play on PC, you want to play on Xbox, that's up to you. Okay, but they're going to be very pointed, just like they were with Sea of Thieves. Everybody's like bringing up Sea of Thieves, Microsoft account. Well, you pre-ordered it and you had that in front of your face. Excuse me. All right. Like, we're talking about things that have been purchased that could possibly be taken away. How does that make sense? And that's why Steam said, nah, bro, we're good with that. All right. We'll give the refund. And if we have to sue you, we will if you're not going to reimburse us. But that's on them, right? Steam is the developed ecosystem that people purchased said product on, and PlayStation said you have to change everything that you do and join this said ecosystem and put your private data on said ecosystem that has been hacked 5+ times in the past 10 years.
There you go.
Why in God's name would somebody that's not a part of the PlayStation ecosystem do such a thing? Because they probably have a Microsoft Windows account, which links directly to your Xbox account. So all of that said information has already been there for years. Xbox is just asking you to do that for said game that you play, but they do that up front. How does PlayStation not understand that if you do it up front, it might be beneficial down the road, rather than doing the latter and saying, okay, you all purchase this game 177 countries. Guess what? You need a PSN account and they don't know that they don't even provide that in said countries? That makes zero sense whatsoever. And I think people need to stand on their leg. Look, I don't play on PC. I play on Xbox. When I saw that, I said, enough. What are you doing? And for once in my life, I felt like, hey, people are actually thinking with common sense. Like, this isn't right, okay? Regardless, if Xbox did this to you, I would say the same damn thing. And I think that's where the people on this podcast, the people in this chat, stand on that hill, because it ain't right.
I mean, great points all around as usual. You're absolutely right. If it would have been up front, and that's the thing we learned. And again, a shout out. Why can't I remember the name of the studio that made the game? Fuzzy, help me out.
Arrowhead.
Yep, Arrowhead.
Arrowhead. Jeez, Christmas. So Arrowhead, you got to give them credit, because you know what they did? They kind of went like this. They did it.
Yeah, exactly.
They did it, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to step to the side. You can go and have a conversation. We have no control over this. And what we did learn through discourse between them and the community is that this was set to drop the day the game became available, but they couldn't get it to work right. So they were like, okay, so we're not going to say anything. Everyone just go buy crazy. And what happened is this game, again, it is a bright spot for Sony, a very bright spot for Sony, and a bright spot for the studio that made the game. They are in the crosshairs. Everyone wants to know not only what they're going to keep doing for this game, but what's their next one. Arrowhead has done something incredibly special here, and I hate to say it, Fuzzy, man, the shine has been taken off. I don't know. Look, the numbers don't lie. Matt Piscatella is out there talking about it. He said very bluntly that if this game would not have had PC support, it would not have even ranked in PlayStation's own list of their top 20. That's a problem. With PC's help, it has become the number 7 game of all time for PlayStation. That's freaking huge. I am so taken aback by this. I don't understand the mentality. And look, I do have a lot of super chats. We're going to get to them as soon as we get to everyone. Don't worry. We're going to continue this conversation. I do want to bring up one, though, because it is a part of what what you're going to talk about. Horkenstein drops a very generous $5 super chat, and he says Sony weighed the acceptable losses. When it was too much, they reversed. Should have reversed the second they found out players were region locked out. There you go. So let's talk about this. You said you had some pointed opinions. Let's hear them.
Oh yeah, my biggest thing is with Sony, like they've been good at letting Microsoft take all the arrows going over the hill type of thing, and they kind of stand in the shadows, and they're like, oh yeah, we could do it now because Microsoft kind of cleared the way, and now it's cool if we do it. So they should have known better. And if the game couldn't do the PSN linking thing at launch, that's fine. I question the competency of their analytics group and their backend group. And what I mean by that is Steam database. Like if you're a publisher on Steam, there has to be a portal that shows you. It may not give you all the personal information of every user, but it's going to give you the hours. It's going to give you possibly the achievements. It's going to give you like the time frame and how often they play, maybe how many players have other Sony games or Sony published games. So a lot of the stuff that they could use is already in Steam's database. So if it was a matter of, well, we want this for our own personal, data, just extract it from the Steam database. If you don't have a launcher that's going to be able to usefully pull that information and then use it in a way where, okay, you see that, said user likes to play these 3, PlayStation published games. All right, we'll put ads or we'll put like a discount coupon form for this, like all the stuff that companies usually use that data for. Until you have your own launcher or until you have some sort of system set up where you can manipulate like the customers and test things out as far as test marketing and encourage them to spend money in microtransactions and stuff. Until you have all that laid out, just extract the stuff from Steam because Steam already has all that. The only thing you won't get is possibly their real name and their home address. You might get the region that they're in, but all of that is already in Steam. So I don't understand why they wanted to double down on this. Like it should have been like, hey, we get pushback. Okay. Analytics team, hold off. Let's work with the back end team to see if they can't get all the data extracted from Steam before we, completely step on this rake and trip down the stairs and shoot ourselves in the hip with the, the gun off of safety or whatever kind of thing. Like they really bumbled this, like not just on, from a PR standpoint, but just for the fact that they knew this for like the 3 months that, okay, it's not active. We're not getting those linking things from all these users. We see that 200,000 people are playing and we only have like 1,000 people linked. Was this not something that was pushed a little bit earlier, or did they? I'm starting to think it was just a matter of they never thought that this was going to do the numbers that it did. So it was kind of like, whatever. We'll worry about that later. We'll focus on when we release, Ghost of Tsushima. That one's going to be the one we really need to pay attention to. But this one was a gold mine for them, and they probably killed it before it even reached its full potential. Like we saw it constantly growing and eating up a lot of the server space to the point where they had to get more servers to be able to keep people, happy so they could continue playing the game. But now, like they had the tools. Steam had the tools for them to work with to get the information that they could even use for their, financial reports. It doesn't have to be in your computer as, oh, they're an official user here. No, they're just list them as, PlayStation users outside of the ecosystem right now. And if you don't have the ecosystem to accommodate them, i.e. a launcher, this was a waste of your time. Like somebody in the executive C-suite level needs to be thrown out the window kind of thing. Like this is a simple thing. Like maybe it's just my experience with business and stuff where we had a website and product databases and email campaigns and all that stuff. This was a bumble at the highest level, somewhere at the executive level at Sony. So that's all I got on that.
Yeah, it's a shame. And like I said, I think the lack of understanding is what took 3 days. It is shocking to me that again, when it comes to sparked outrage, some of it is just a lot of like yelling, but not so much for this Game Pass ad. This had a lot of substance. There were a lot of people that really enjoyed this game. It again highlighted Sony's 2024. It is an amazing game. If you haven't played, I know some people are like, yeah, I'm tired of hearing about it. Listen, I played it up until I couldn't get on. with the servers, and then I walked away to play Halo, and I haven't been back since. It's not because the game's a bad game; it's just I don't have time. Um, I think that this Bumble, as Fuzzy was saying, Game Pass Dad, is probably going to be one of the worst things to happen to Sony this year. And I think once we're done with this topic, we're going to get to the super chats, and then we're going to talk about the damage being done, because I think the damage is worse than anyone realizes. We're going to get into that momentarily. But Game Pass Dad, let's talk about the how long it took for them to respond, and they actually the reversing of course.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm a little bit surprised that they actually did reverse it, like, because Sony's not really known to like change up what they're doing. Like, part of like the points that I've been making about it is that this is just a piece of evidence that proves that Sony doesn't really understand like the gaming market outside of like their customers that already own their products. And at that point, they feel like they can get away with things like that. And it's a good thing there was so much pushback from the community, even from those like myself. Like, I really love this game. I did not at any point realize that it was gonna I tried to read everything, and I feel like I might have seen it, but I didn't realize it was going to be required. I was just like, oh, Helldivers is popping off. It looks like a great game. I'm gonna buy it and I'm gonna play it. And I fell in love with it. I've played it for like 80 hours. Like, I'm not as hardcore as some people, but I really enjoy it. And like at a certain point, I might have considered like setting up a PSN account if I knew it was required at the beginning. But now that I've played it and gotten my fill, like, what's there to be gained to set up a PSN account when I didn't have to before, and I've never had one? Like, I get that some people are just like, go ahead, make it, it's free, but I don't really want to give Sony my data when I sit there and look back at it and I'm like, all right, they've changed their agreements. Like, they didn't make this very clear. It was a choice that they made. And at that point, like, I just don't think it's the right way to go about it. And when I think about it further, like, especially with their update to their quality monitoring and like their enforcement policies, I think a big part of this is like for their ability to actually be able to collect the user data from like the people who are playing on Steam and outside of PSN, and be able to like record their voices the way Microsoft does, which it's something that all companies do. But it's like Sony obviously is making a play to get more of the data and maybe even pad out their monthly active users here for the quarter. But like, at that point, I'm not going to give Sony anything more when they've proven specifically through their game division. Like, other companies, Microsoft, have all had data breaches, but through their game division, they've had 3 major data breaches in the last 13 years. So if there's anything I can do to not give them any more of my information, I'm happy not to do it. And I'm usually not that paranoid, because I put myself out to the public in general. So it's like, I try and keep my personal life private, more or less. But it's like, a lot of companies have our data, and that's just something that we live with. But it's like, we don't have to like buckle over and give into it. And I don't necessarily think that Steam was returning games in the millions, but I do feel like if Sony didn't make a change, like, Steam was looking like they were more than willing to take a look at it in a case by case basis. And at some point it could have gotten there. I feel like it definitely went on a bit too long, but it seemed like it went for about as long as it was going to, because the PC community proved that it wasn't going to give up. Looks like we might have a new a new cape design based on the negative Steam reviews as well. I don't know if you guys saw some of those memes with the bad reviews falling out of the drop ships, but obviously, like, Steam gamers showed that they were upset, like PC gamers, like. And I don't understand why like Sony thought that this was going to go over well. Like, they just thought that everyone was just going to accept the fact, which like when people try and make the argument that, oh, well, Microsoft, you have to make an account. But most of the time, PC gamers are playing that game on a Microsoft device already. Like, they already have the utility of a Microsoft account.
Yes.
Where I even looked back at Spider-Man to be like, before I spoke more on it, like, I made a poll, and like, it was only a 3-hour poll, and it got like 3,000 views and like 200 votes or something like that. And most of those people were like, I wouldn't refund this if this is going to continue, which I wasn't at the point where I was going to request a refund. but until I see where this goes, my review is still negative on Steam. And it was something I wanted to at least make my voice heard about, and like not sit there and just be like, all right, I guess I'm just not going to play anymore. Like, we had the option to do so, and gamers are doing so in mass. So yeah, it's good to see that Sony is at least listening, but it's very apparent that instead of, I don't know, it's kind of hard to say like how quickly a company should just turn around and be like, this is a bad idea, because we all know they test the waters. I don't think this was a testing the waters at all. I think they were going to just try and slip it under the rug, just be like, hey, sign up for PlayStation. There's no added benefit. But like, if you go to a game like Spider-Man on Steam, that's the only other Sony game I bought. It never required me to sign into a PSN account, which it's also not a multiplayer game, but still, it's like I didn't have to do it for that game. Why do we have to do it all of a sudden for Helldivers, which the only thing is like the online? So we'll see with Ghost of Tsushima, but at least in Spider-Man, if you sign up for a PSN account, you get a bunch of awards and you get cosmetics, and it tells you that you get extra stuff. And one of the big blunders is that instead of just offering it as an option for like free stuff, they're just like, no, you guys are going to have to do this and you're going to have to live with it, which that is like,
or else.
Yeah, that's like the worst thing to tell a PC player, is that you have to do something, because like PC players like literally play on PC, a good portion of them, because they want to be able to do, like, they want to be able to play their games how they want to play their games and have like the longest length of access to it. So I just feel this really shows that Sony doesn't really understand those customers, and probably is a bit of a hint as to why they've had trouble launching like a solid games as a service here. And hopefully they learn from it. Hopefully they shift from their profit reaping ways that they've been doing this last like 5 to 7 years, and start doing things that are positive for their gamers more, because I feel like that's the only way they're going to recover from this. I think it shows bigger problems within their business.
I absolutely agree. Hargeet, let's bring you in on the conversation. You know, Game Pass Dad mentioned security. Didn't we have a massive Insomniac leak that gave us their plans for the next decade? Did that happen this year? It kind of feels like it did.
Yeah, I think it was this year. Yeah.
So, I mean, the truth of the matter is that Game Pass Dad is right. Who wants to give Sony any information, especially on PC? It did seem like they tried to do the banana in the tailpipe. It didn't work. I don't know how many Steam players returned their game. I said 1 million. It could be more. It could be less. But 1 million of anything is a major loss, especially when this was one of those big W's, so to speak, for Sony, who didn't have a lot of them this year. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, so like as I was saying, basically it's when money is hit that these things change, right? So some companies are more I guess in tune with what their player base is going to say. There is a lot of engagement with the Xbox side where the community does drive things. So they do take feedback, right? But ultimately, it comes down to money, right? How many people were happy with the 4 games going to PlayStation? Not a lot, but money drives things, and they had to do what they have to do, right? So if you look at the same thing on the PlayStation side, in general, they look at the bottom line or legal liability. I think they had legal liability here. There is going to be some potential to say, hey, wait a minute, you allowed us to buy something and then took it away. What the heck is going on? And there's a potential for a class action lawsuit, very easily with that kind of thing. So they probably saw that, right? I think ultimately it was Steam deciding, and I don't know if they actually coordinated with PlayStation or not, but Steam deciding, well, we're not going to take the hit. We're just going to tell them you can refund this game, and we're going to stop selling it in all those countries. And whether that was something that prompted a discussion with PlayStation or not, I don't know, but something must have happened after that, because that's what that impetus, that was the thing that caused them to switch back to, let's get rid of this, right? Because up to then they were just like, yeah, whatever, you just deal with it, right? And when Steam said, yeah, no, we're not going to deal with it, and we're not going to keep selling this game to people who can't play it, and we're going to offer refunds to everybody, that's when suddenly everything shifted. All the work they did to get a good game out there to have a good multiplayer, games as a service. Well, I don't even know if there's really any microtransactions or not, but a big multiplayer game, they just screwed it up, right? Big time. PC was driving this and they screwed it up. The unfortunate part is PlayStation has now kind of sullied their reputation, and I don't know that it's going to be easy to come back. Hopefully the game will come back, maybe, but once you piss somebody off, it usually creates that negative aura, and people are emotional. And once that emotion is breached, it's hard to bring it back. I mean, think of all the stupid things Xbox did in the Xbox One gen, right? To bring that forward and said stupid things, and it held for a long time. It's still something they're trying to fix.
Yes.
Right? It's not an easy thing to turn around. And doing something like this, yes, it's a good decision to undo this. Absolutely the right decision. Good job, Sony, to finally realize it. But I mean, you did this because, let's face it, your money was going away. And you didn't want that to happen. You're already in jeopardy with your profit, is dwindling, and you didn't want to have that happen with this. Fair enough, but you did the damage. And I don't know what that's going to look like as far as the next 5 years. Their plan was to bring more games as a service games, right? And PC is a big part of that. We saw where the players were. It was not on PlayStation. It was on PC. And, if this is the pattern you're going to have, we'll see what this does. The damage is there. How extensive the damage is, I don't know. Maybe the player base says, hey, they listened. This is good. We should be thankful and continue. I doubt that'll be the answer, unfortunately, because sometimes you just piss people off, and that can create an antagonism. And I don't know if this is kind of sad, really, because this was the path to make them more profitable, was bring their games to PC. I hope it doesn't sour that, and it's something they kind of need. So from a PlayStation business perspective, this is kind of a major stupid move. We'll see how this goes. I don't know if it's terrible, but it's gonna have a hit. It's gonna have a hit, and we'll see how much of a hit as we see the next quarter or two of their financial reports. We'll also see the numbers. I'm sure somebody's tallying how many people refunded this game, and like you were saying, Boom, it might be 1 million. It might be that much. Especially when you're looking at 177 countries that said, well, okay, take the game back then, because I'm not going to pay for something I can't play. Right. So, if a big chunk of the player base was out there, yeah, that's a big hit. I want to commend them for doing the right thing and listening and doing the right thing here. But we all know it's because of money. It always is. It's because of money. Most companies revolve around money. And for those who don't think that capitalism works, here's capitalism working. It's working. Take the money away. Guess what happens? The company bends, right? It's all about money. It's always about money. So, keep yelling on Twitter. That doesn't matter. What does matter is take the money away. And then suddenly things change. Right. So this is how you get things done. If you want to change something, take away the money. Stop buying. Stop paying. Yep. Right.
Yep, absolutely.
Things flip. Right. So because they need to, placate their shareholders, they need to pay their people. That's just the way it is. Right. If you take away the money, they're going to change. So very few companies that'll take that and say, no, we're going to stand on our ground. Yeah, good luck with that. They're going to stand on money. So this is totally the way it should have been, is you refund the game and say, well, if you don't want me, fine, I'm gone. See ya. And then watch everything twist and turn. And, we changed our mind. We're sorry. Yeah, that's exactly what happens. So, it's the same problem with, Horizon Forbidden West, where they were going to charge the extra $10. They're like, you said this over here, though. Why did you decide to change that? Class action lawsuit, anyone. So then suddenly they had to change that because you guys said it. You said it was going to be free. So guess what? You have to now honor that. So this is the way it is, right? So when legal troubles come in or money troubles come in, yeah, they're gonna bend. So it worked. However, I am kind of leery on what this means, right? If you piss off a user base, and it's, this user base will remember. Steam people, they will remember. Yep. PC players will remember. And this is going to set a sour tone for them, which is sad, but because they needed this, they needed the PC, so I hope it's still a viable platform for them, but we'll see if this diminishes their reach on the PC side.
Yeah, actually, Hargate, we're going to come back around to this because I do want to talk about the potential damage done.
I hope they make it clear, right? Just say clearly we are in the future going to do this, right? They need to really come out and say that, right? We will not do this going in the future, or we will do this going in the future.
Yeah, they got to be clear.
That's how you solidify this, right? To say we are never going to do this again. We're sorry, we won't do it again. Okay, then fine, right? Some people might be able to say, okay, fine, I get it. But if you're going to be wishy-washy about it, which is probably where they're going to be, they're going to assume, like the PC players are going to assume, you're going to push this again, right? So, but yeah.